Welcome in. This is Lynn, the Crafty Cook. Today we're going to make some chicken and dumplings and some chicken soup. You first make the soup and then you take soup to make your dumplings. It's real easy. The way I do it, I do not boil my chicken. I take my chicken breast, which I have laid out here on a cutting mat in a baking dish, in a sheet pan, so I don't get chicken juice all over everything. So first of all, we're going to cut up our chicken, and I just cut it into cubes. I usually slice it through like this, and then I'll slice it this way, and then just start slicing it into little cubes, just like that. We'll get this chicken cut up. Then we're going to use 2 stalks of celery and an onion, some butter. Can't cook without butter. And I'm not talking margarine. I'm talking real, honest to goodness butter. Real butter. And then we're going to saute our onions and celery and add our chicken. And you want your chicken to get a little bit brown. Okay, there's one chicken breast, and I'm going to make a big pot because my family loves chicken and dumplings, and they like chicken soup, and my aunt's having some dental surgery, and I promised to make her some soup, so I'm going to take her some of this soup. I've got our chicken cut up here, just another second. Then I'll wash my hands good, and we'll cut up the onions and the celery. Then we'll move over to the stove and start cooking some of this stuff. Chicken and dumplings is one of the things that my family eats a lot in the winter months because it's so cold, and it's a comfort food. You just feel like you're full and you've had a good meal and everything when you've had chicken and dumplings. All right, there's our chicken. I'm gonna set it over here to the side, wash my hands, and we're gonna cut up our onions and celery. Now I got my hands washed. Now we're going to cut up our onion and our celery. See, my cutting board's all nice and clean because I put that cookie sheet down. Cut our onions, cut the top and the bottom off the onion just like that. Toss those over there. Cut it down the middle. Then you peel this skin off of it. See how I'm doing that? Can y'all see that? I'm just peeling that off. Let me see if I can zoom y'all in here. So you can see how I'm peeling this onion. Can you see how I'm doing this? See, it's got a layer right there. See that? See how that comes off there? That's your skin. You can take a whole chunk of onion, and I have done that in the past. Just take a big old piece of onion. You get a little extra. You're just wasting some of your onion that way. Alright, we're going to get this one off. This side. Just a real thin little membrane over that onion. Alright, now then, the way I do it is with this food chopper. It's just the quickest, the easiest thing I've got. See there? How easy that was? If you do not have one, Pampered Chef's got one, and I actually have a Pampered Chef one or two at the other house. I just don't have one at this house yet. Now then, let's see if we can get this all chopped up real quick. chopped up there. Slide it over here to this side. And we're going to chop up our celery, same way. I first want to get it in pieces small enough to fit underneath the chopper. There's one thing of celery. I'll fit over there. Flinging celery at the horn. Every time I cut up celery, I think of Alright, we got that chopped up, and that's all we're going to need to chop on. Put that right there. Now we're going to put this up here in a bowl so I can get it up there to the stove. There's our onions and our celery. It's a bowl full, isn't it? And I use a Vidalia onion. I didn't tell y'all that, or a sweet onion. We do not like strong onions, but we like onions. So, all right, take you to the stove. Hold it. Okay, we're back over here at the stove. First of all, I'm going to get me a whole stick of butter. And I like salted butter. You just don't have to add as much salt to things. If you're making candies or cookies or something, that little bit of salt in that butter enhances that sweetness and takes away some of the oversweet, if that makes sense. I'm going to stick this stick of butter in here and let it start to melt. It's already starting. I had my pan hot. Then we're going to throw the onions and celery in there and let it cook for just a few minutes. Then I'm going to add the chicken that we cut up. I have made chicken and dumplings and boiled a whole chicken, taken it out of the pot, used that chicken stock, chicken broth that you get from boiling that whole chicken, and they're delicious. But to me, I always have boneless, skinless chicken breast because that's just what we eat 99% of the time. It's very rare that I buy any other kind of chicken. So I like to be able to make things out of what I typically have in my freezer and pantry rather than have to go buy something different. Okay, so there's my butter. It's not quite all melted, but that's okay. I'm going to add the celery and the onion. And I'm just going to stir that all in there and let that cook. Just in that butter. And I am going to add a little bit of salt. A little bit of salt. And a little bit of pepper. We like pepper in our dumplings. Quite a bit of pepper, actually. That just enhances the flavor of them somehow. I don't know exactly what the pepper does for it, but somehow it just makes it better. All right, we're going to let this cook. Turn it back up just a little bit here. Then I'm going to add that chicken, and I want this all to cook till it starts to caramelize and get just a little bit browned. Because when it does that, all of your chicken has a better flavor. I can't describe it. I just know that we like it that way. And this onion is stronger than I thought because it's making my eyes water. So if y'all see me sniffing and snubbing and my eyes drooping, that's why. It's this onion cooking in this big old pot. I love my cast iron pots. I've got this set that's got 2 lids and 3 bottom pieces. And then I've got a lot of old cast iron. I've got some that was my mama's, some that was my grandmother's, some that was my aunt's, and then I'll eventually have what was my mother-in-law's and what was her mother's. So my daughter shouldn't have to buy any cookware. She probably will because I hope I'm not gone before she starts cooking. But All right, now I'm gonna add this chicken. Let me grab something here to pick it up with. Grab some tongs. Here we go. I'm just gonna dump this chicken right in there, right like that. See that? Just gonna pop that chicken in there. Then I'm gonna throw this right back over in the sink. So I'll be over there so I can wash it. All right, now then. This should start to brown before long. It shouldn't take it just a few minutes because there's not any liquid in here except for the butter and what's cooking out of these vegetables. And a little bit that'll cook out of the chicken. And you're saying, Lord, that looks like a lot of onions and celery for no more chicken. By the time I get the chicken broth and the dumplings in there, it'll be good. Because like I said, I make a big pot because I'm gonna make this, then I'll take part of this out to make my dumplings and I'll put some carrots in it and some noodles to make the soup. And then the other will not have the carrots and the noodles, it will just have the cream and the dumplings. And we'll go over here in a minute and make our dumplings. I'll turn y'all off while this browns, and once it gets brown, I'll bring you back, okay? Okay, while our chicken's browning, I like to add a little extra chicken flavor. And I use this chicken flavored soup base. Can y'all see that? That's what I use. It's delicious. I put it in all kinds of things. And I'm gonna add about a good heaping tablespoon there. Maybe just a little bit more. Let that cook into the chicken so that it's not just in the liquid in a minute. It'll cook into the chicken as it browns. So the chicken's still browning. So once it starts to brown, I want y'all to see what it looks like. So I'll be right back. Okay, it's starting to cook down now. Y'all can see it's getting real thick. See how thick that's getting in that skillet? Let me bring you over here so you can see just a little bit better. I'll turn you down in there. Y'all see that good? See, it's starting to get real thick and it's getting ready to start browning. So we'll just watch it start to brown here, and then we're going to add in some chicken broth. You want to see that? I had one of these. And since I used the other powdered chicken soup base, I'll add some water with that. I'm hoping this is gonna brown. It should brown. It's getting real brown. You don't want it real brown, but you want it just to start to brown just a little bit. Hear that butter sizzling in there? It's steaming up so much I had to take my glasses off so I can see what it's doing. All right, see how that's brown in the bottom of the skillet? That's what you want. Oh, and you can start to smell it good now too. That's exactly what you want right there. Once you start browning the bottom of that skillet. All right, now we're going to pour in this one thing of chicken broth, and I'll tell you how many ounces it is. That'll pull all that brown up off of there and put it right in your broth. That's what you want. It's perfect. Let's see, this is 32 ounces of chicken broth. Something I keep all the time in my pantry because you can do so much with chicken broth. All right, look how rich that looks now. All right, now we're going to let this cook for a little bit. I'm going to turn it down. We'll let it cook. We're going to take you over here and we're going to make our dumplings. Okay, now we're back over here at the counter, and you can see I have covered my counter with a flour sack towel. This is what I'm gonna roll my dumplings out on. If I'm making a pie crust or bread or something, I have a big dough board that tells me the size of my pie crust and all that kind of thing. Well, dumplings, I tend to roll them until they are over the edges of the dough board, so I just put me down a tea towel and it works great. First of all, we're going to take us some white lily flour, all-purpose flour. That's what I use. I used to think flour was flour until somebody said, well, you ought to use white lily flour. And I thought, flour's flour. No, it's not. White lily's the best flour, so if you can buy white lily flour, I suggest you do so. Let me get me a scoop. I'll get out this old rolling pin here. So I'm going to start with a couple of cups of flour. About 2 cups of flour. Set this over here out of the way. And then I'm gonna, oh, I gotta get my buttermilk. Hold on, I forgot that. I make buttermilk dumplings. You can use chicken broth. A lot of people do that. A lot of people use water. A lot of people use plain milk. I like buttermilk, just what I like. So I'm gonna get me a spoon. All right, now we're gonna get us out some Crisco here, and that's just a little bit bigger than a golf ball size, I guess. I'm gonna put that down in the center of our bowl, right like that. Then we're gonna start adding some buttermilk. I've shaken it up good. You always want to shake your buttermilk up good. And I don't know how much buttermilk I put in there, but y'all see what the dough looks like in the end, and that's what you want it to look like. You just want to add it a little bit at a time. You don't want to add it all at one time. Because if you do, you may get too much, and then and I just get in there with my hands and just start squishing it about. It's gonna need more buttermilk for sure. It's easier to add it than it is to take it back out, because you cannot take it back out. Trust me on that one. I'll have to add more Crisco and more flour and a little bit more milk in there. I want to stir it around just like this with your hand. God gave you the best stirrers you've got, and that's your hands. When you're making a meatloaf, people say, oh, don't put your hand in there, that's raw meat. Put your hand in there and stir that thing up. Ain't gonna hurt a thing. Your hands wash. You wash your hands. And I've got too much sticky on my fingers. I'm gonna need a little bit more buttermilk. A little bit more this time, not much. I gotta get this off my fingers so I can even pick up my jug. Okay. Just a little bit more, about a teaspoon, tablespoon, something like that. All right, now then, that's starting to come together and form a ball, which is what you want. The more you work your dough, the tougher it gets. With dumplings, I don't care if my dumplings are tough. It's really kind of what we want. We don't add salt, we don't add baking powder, and I'm using all-purpose flour, not self-rising flour. Some people use self-rising flour. You can do that if you like a fluffier dumpling, but we do not. We like a tough dumpling, as my daddy used to say. All right, see how that's come together? Can y'all see that good? See, it just looks like a ball of dough. Let me rinse my hands off here, and I'm gonna dump that out there and that on our surface. And then we're gonna start making our dumplings. gonna step over here and stir our chicken soup. I wish y'all could smell it. It smells so good. All right, now then, that smells delicious over there, you all. Now then, we're gonna take us some flour. Just sprinkle it all over that. It's called a flour sack towel. You do not want a terry towel because your dough will stick to the terry and then it'll be a mess. This is a flour sack towel. And as y'all can see, I'm rolling this flour out over it and it's just as smooth as silk. Okay, I'm gonna dump this out right like that. Stick that in the sink. Depending on how many people you've got to eat your dumplings, you can make more or less. I'm just gonna knead it over a few times, right like that. And then I'm gonna try to get it in a rectangular shape so we can, because that's what we want them to be. Now then we're gonna start rolling it, just like this. Just like this. Roll each direction. And you want them to be really thin. When I make my dumplings, I want them to be about as thin as I can get them and still be able to pick them up and drop them in the pot. Y'all, making dumplings is the easiest thing in the world. I always thought it was hard. And then when I was a little girl, I had a great aunt. Her name was Eliza. We called her Lizzie. And she used to make the best dumplings. Everybody just raved about them. She'd say, well, I just throw some of this in there and some of that in there. It took me a lot of years to figure out how she made dumplings. And I will tell you, I have bought the frozen dumplings on several occasions. The Mrs. B's or Annie B's or Mary B's or whatever. They're in the frozen section with the bread. Can y'all see how thin I'm getting that? Just roll it as thin as you can get it. See, look how thin that is. See, look. Can y'all see that? Hope you can. And I believe that's good. But I've used the frozen dumplings. But I'll tell you what, you can make these dumplings and make you up a huge batch of dumplings. Cut them out. Cut them out. Put them in on some cookie sheets. Let them freeze. And then once they're frozen, take them out and put them in a Ziploc bag or a food saver bag. Seal them up with no air in them like I do. And then you've cut out a step, so at a quick, easy night, you can come in and chop up your chicken, or maybe you've already fixed your chicken for the freezer and it's already chopped up. Thaw it out real quick, throw you some onions and celery in a pot, and in 30 minutes, you've got chicken and dumplings. I mean, they're easy to make and a good hearty meal, either weeknight, weekend, whatever. Throw you a salad together. That's what we usually do, just have a salad and chicken and dumplings. And I don't fix bread because you've got your dumplings, so you don't need bread. And so that's what we usually do. I'm gonna check on this soup here just a minute, and we'll come right back. Okay, now here we are back again. I'm standing here wielding these instruments. We're gonna cut our dumplings. I use a pizza cutter. Seen people use a spatula. Pizza cutter's the easiest thing in the world. You just don't press down too hard. You just cut right up through there, right like that. See, right like that. And roll them on this tea towel is so easy. They don't stick. It's just the best thing in the world. Like I said, it cannot be a terry towel. It has to be a flour sack towel. And I've actually got two laid out here because they are so thin. And I'll see if I can find some on Amazon and put y'all a link in the bottom so you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, now we're going to cut them this other way. Depends on how big you want your dumplings. We don't like ours real big. So I cut mine about 3/4 inch wide. And then I make mine kind of in little squares. Of course, they're not all perfect. That's okay. You can see I'm getting kind of wonky here with this pizza cutter. Going in a circle there. I'll cut those off. All right. Now I'll take mine up here and I'll stick them on a plate, not like this, so I can get them over there. We'll do that here in just a minute. First, I'm going to take y'all back over here to the stove and show you what I'm doing with our soup and our dumpling. Okay, here we are back at the stove. I want y'all to look at this. It's just boiling away. Look at that. Y'all see all that? Now then, in this pot over here, I've got some chicken broth, some chicken soup starter, about a tablespoon, because like I said, we're going to make soup and dumplings. And I've got some carrots I chopped up. But what we're going to add in here, that I don't know if anybody else does this or not, I add herbs to mine. And this is called herbe de Provence. And I just sprinkle a little bit on there, just like that, about a teaspoon or so. You don't want to get too much, but you want enough for those flavors to come out. And I honestly cannot tell you the herbs that are in that, but they will make this just over the top flavorful, these dumplings. A lot of times chicken and dumplings are just bland because it's chicken broth, chicken and flour and water. So I like to give mine a little more flavor. Same with my soup. I put a little bit in that soup pot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put a little bit of this chicken and stuff over here in this soup. Some of this celery and onion and chicken over here in this soup pot. Just a couple, because I'm not making a whole lot of soup. I want more dumplings than I do soup. And I'm going to put about a half a stick of butter in my soup. About a half a stick. It's going to go right there in that soup pot. That's what I tell y'all earlier. You cannot cook without butter. Gotta have butter. Okay, now for our dumplings, look here, our soup's just going to boil and boil and boil. And I may end up adding a little bit of water, but I'm going to put some noodles in that in just a little bit. But for our dumplings, that's what we've got, okay? But I'm going to add some milk. If I can find the can opener. I've got two. There it is. Can't seem to find one. I'm going to add 2 cans of evaporated milk. This just happens to be carnation. Turn that down on low because I don't want it to boil away. But you want it to say evaporated milk. You do not want sweetened condensed milk. You want it to be evaporated, not condensed. Okay? I'll put this other can in there, right like this. We're going to let that come up to a boil, and then we're going to add our dumplings. And they'll be ready in about 10 or 15 minutes or less. I'll be right back. Okay, y'all can see where this is starting to come to a boil just a little bit. Now we do not stir our dumplings because they will fall apart. You just want to shake your pot occasionally. But I'm going to show you how to drop these dumplings. You just want to drop them one at a time, just like this. And you want to move them about your pot, and they'll sink to the bottom, and then they'll come up to the top. Make sure they're not stuck together when you drop them. And if you've got flour on them, that's perfect. If you've got extra flour, just lay it on them, because that's what will thicken your broth. It's just that extra flour. This is what we're gonna have for supper tonight. Yummy. Give our pot a shake. You can start to see them coming back to the top. Start dropping some more in there. I'm telling you, if y'all take a day and buy your chicken, get it ready and put it in the freezer. Go ahead and chop it up in little cubes. I do that a lot. Then make your batch of dumplings or two. Let them freeze. Pop them in the freezer. You've got your dumplings. You can even buy frozen onions and celery. Or you can freeze your own if you've got some onions that are about to go bad. Some celery that's been in there almost too long. You need some fresh. Go ahead, chop it up and stick it in the freezer. Then you've got everything you need for these dumplings already. All you have to do is just throw it together for a midweek meal or weekend meal or whenever you want it. Now look here, you can see the dumplings starting to come up to the top. Can y'all see them? I don't know if you can or not. I'm gonna just see, you can see them right there. See how they're coming to the top as they start to cook. Pop those down just a little bit. And I'm going to shake and shake and shake this pot. I don't want to splosh it out. See how I'm stirring it? Just kind of barely moving it in a circle. Oops. And it's stirring itself. Okay, let me get a few more dumplings over here. How many more dumplings we're going to need? I think this might be enough. We don't want just all dumplings and no broth. We like to have a little bit of broth, which I could always add some more broth. It's not a problem. This is a good way to stretch your meat too. I've probably just got 1.5 chicken breasts in here, and it's going to feed 6 of us. So I believe that's about all the dumplings I can get in that pot. All right, now then, we're going to come back over here to our soup. Can y'all see in my soup pot, or do I need to move y'all around here the other way? Okay, yeah, you got me up close there, didn't you? Can y'all see in this soup pot now? This is our soup right here. Move y'all to the other side of the stove so you can see good. This is what I'm going to put in there. It's Walnut Creek noodles. We've got a little store not far from us. A little, we call it the Amish store, but it's a Mennonite store. And they have some of the best herbs, seasonings. They've got just a whole row of nothing but seasonings. And they're packaged in bulk, and you can buy just what you get will last you forever, and they're just so cheap and so much cheaper than they are in the grocery store. And this is where I buy these noodles and my soup starter and everything. Now as soon as this soup right here comes back to a rolling boil, I'm going to put in some of these noodles. And here you got just plain old chicken noodle soup. Alright, you see our dumplings here. I'm going to take me a wooden spoon here and see some of them aren't down in there good. I may try to just slowly, ever so slowly, pop them down in there. See, I'm not really stirring, I'm just patting them down in there underneath the water and the broth so that they'll cook. And those dumplings cook in about 5-10 minutes at the most. These noodles will too. It won't take them long at all to cook. They'll be done here in just a minute. But you want this to be a rolling boil. If it's not, your noodles are going to clump together, stick together, and then you're not going to like that. So, see, there's a piece of our chicken. Big chunks of chicken in here. But I can eat a whole bowl of dumplings with just 1 or 2 little pieces of chicken is all I need. I don't need a lot of dumplings in my, a lot of chicken in my dumplings, let's say. See, it's starting to boil. It's starting to come up to a good rolling boil. You've got your carrots, your celery, and your onions in there. Everything you've got in your dumplings, you've got in your soup, except you added some carrots and some more broth to make more broth in your soup. Now we're just going to put some of these noodles in there. And these noodles cook up. And you've got quite a few noodles, so you don't need too many noodles if you want any soup at all. So, there we go. We've got soup right there. Now then, those will cook up and they'll make a nice pot of homemade chicken noodle soup. Yum, yum, yum. And let's see how our dumplings are doing. Push some of those back down in there. So y'all can see all the dumplings have come to the top of this pot. See that? Just gonna let them cook here for a few minutes. I've got it on about medium. Every time I start cooking, my nose starts running. I'm sorry. See, look at those. Doesn't that look pretty? Look at those carrots popping up there. Giving it some color. Some pretty color in that pot of soup. Okay, it's about to overflow on me here. Let's move it off the heat in a minute. Ooh, let's cool you down. Fan the flames. I'm going to show y'all a trick. I don't know how to keep your pot from boiling over. This is a trick. Take your butter and run your ring of butter around the top of that pot right like that. Boom. I did not turn that eye down or do anything to it. That's all I did. And watch, it's not going to boil over. So y'all have learned something by watching me make chicken soup. How not to let your pot boil over. If you're boiling potatoes, pasta, anything that has a tendency to boil over when you're cooking it, take you some butter, run you just a ring of butter around the top of that, and it won't boil over. I was selling Pampered Chef years and years and years ago, and we had this little device that you could put in. Turn y'all back up here so you can see me. That you could put in your bottom of your pot to keep it from boiling over. And I was at my mother-in-law's one day cooking, and I said, "Oh, I need this. You need one of those little things to put in the bottom of the pot to keep it from boiling over." She said, "Oh, I've got one." Well, her sister was here, and she said, "You don't need that. You just run your ring of butter around top of that pot, and it ain't going to boil over." I thought, well, are you sure? She said, "I guarantee it." So I got me out some butter, put me a ring of butter on top of that pot. Lo and behold, that's what I've done every time, and I have not had a pot boil over on me since, and that's been many, 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 many years ago. So just remember, that's just a good little helpful tip, that if you're boiling potatoes or soup or anything like that, that you don't want it to boil over and you think it might, run your ring of butter around the top of that pot, and it's not going to boil over. Okay, this stuff right here is about done. I'm going to put the lids on both of them, clean up the mess, and then I'll get back with you, and we'll taste these dumplings after they get good and done, okay? Okay, I'm going to show y'all what I did with my dumplings I had left over. I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the freezer. But I made them, and I put them single layers. You don't want them stacked, because if you do, they'll stick together and you can't get them apart when you want to pop them in your broth next time. But there they are. I'm going to pop those in the freezer. When they get frozen, leave them overnight. Tomorrow, I'll put them in a Ziploc baggie, and I've already got some dumplings made up. So next time, when I make extra dumplings, I'll do the same thing, and then I'll have me a whole bag of dumplings for a quick, easy meal. All right, friends, here we are. We're back. I'm going to try to taste these dumplings. They are so hot. I set some out here just a minute ago so they could cool. But do you see what they look like? See that? Look at that broth. And those dumplings. See, they don't get real fat. I don't like a fat dumpling. I like a skinny dumpling. See our herbs? Can you see some of our herbs? I believe that might be rosemary in there. There's a piece of the chicken. Serve this up with a salad, and that's all we got for supper. Let me get me a little bite here. Oh my goodness, that is so good. That is delicious. Oh, goodness gracious. I can't wait to sit down over there at that table and eat me a whole bowl full. But for now, if you liked watching me, give me a thumbs up. Give me some comments. Tell me what you think about my videos. Let me know some things you'd like to see me cook. If I've never made it, I'll get on here and we'll make it together. And we'll see whether it's a success or a failure. I'm not above that. Subscribe to my channel. I hope to upload 2 or 3 videos a week. But life gets in the way sometimes, so we'll see how many I get done. And ding your little bell over there so that you'll get notified when I do put up a new one. That way you don't miss out anything. But until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you until we meet again.